tensions are rising sharply between India and Pakistan after the deadly attack in Pahalgam that left 26 people dead. Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh pledged a strong response, saying it is his responsibility to ensure that those who attack India are dealt with decisively. India's Air Force Chief, Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh, met with Prime Minister Narendra Modi to brief him on the military's readiness as the government considers its response. Though no official statement was released, the meeting reflects the seriousness of the developing situation. Meanwhile, on the night of May the 4th, Pakistan initiated unprovoked small arms fire across the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. The Indian Army returned fire in what it called a proportionate response. As regional tensions grow, the UN Security Council will hold closed consultation on the Indian-Pakistan situation. In other global developments, a Turkish naval ship has arrived in Pakistan to further strengthen maritime cooperation between the two nations. Additionally, India's border security force is set to receive 16 new battalions and 2 field headquarters to enhance security along the Pakistan and Bangladesh borders. On the other hand, Russia has offered to mediate tensions between India and Pakistan. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke with his Pakistani counterpart Ishaq Dar, stressing Moscow's readiness to support a political solution if both sides are willing to engage. We are joined by our guests to discuss this situation in more detail. Brigadier Rajan Jamwal, defence expert located in Jammu and Kashmir State. Thank you very much for joining us, Brigadier Jamwal. I first want to talk about this 11th night that Pakistan has violated the ceasefire agreement with India. Brigadier Jamwal, is it time to declare this ceasefire agreement void?
You see, the ceasefire agreement de facto doesn't hold now because Pakistan is the one which has abrogated the Shimla agreement, which defined the line of control as it exists today. So since it has on its part, held it in abeyance, the line of control does not exist, technically speaking. So if line of control does not exist, you can't, it doesn't matter whether you have a ceasefire or you're sitting on the line of defenses, or you go across, or you indulge in artillery fighting, which in any case is happening. It is just that India now is responding very, very strongly because we can afford to do so. We can afford to do so. Pakistan does not have the ammunition or the will to retaliate the way we are retaliating. They have been using traditionally the small arms fire to cover for infiltration, to provide cover for the terrorists to infiltrate. But now, since what they are getting in return are mortar and artillery shells, and hopefully very soon some missiles, they are finding it difficult. They are finding it difficult. In fact, on the international border sector, they have already gone into a full defensive measure. You see, they have even withdrawn their BOPs. They have got the villages on the border vacated and gone into a full defensive posture. On the LC, they are holding posts, resorting to unprovoked firing, but then they are confined to their bunkers because any movement in the open, it is being hit by us. It is being hit by us in retaliation. So to that extent, the line of control as things stand today, it does not exist.
Brigadier Jamwal, what have you thought of the Modi government's response so far? It's obviously it's creeping up to 2 weeks now since the terrorist attack that happened in Jammu and Kashmir on tourists that killed 26 people. What have you thought of the Modi government's response to the terrorist attack?
You see, the immediate response was absolutely economic, diplomatic, and partly military. The Indus Water Treaty abrogation or held in abeyance, that is what has rattled them the most and likely to hit them economically in a way. they are totally rattled about it, plus stoppage of all commerce, even through third country routes, and then the diplomatic and the line of control of the thing. All this was immediate. What Pakistan is now fearing is the intermediate response. Now you have started seeing intermediate response in terms of further economic sanctions, further diplomatic moves, and what they fear most in the intermediate is the kinetic action we are going to take. Right now, the situation of ambiguity happens to be in our favor, simply because it is keeping Pakistan on the tenterhooks. It is forcing it to expend its ammunition. I mean, there's a total dearth of it. Whatever little they had, they sold it for some money to Ukraine. Now, I mean, difficult for them to overnight produce that much. Secondly, we are forcing them to deplete their petroleum reserves. You see, the constant flying of the caps, that is the combat air patrols, movement of forces from their toward the eastern sector from the 12 Corps and all, that is from the Balochistan and northwest frontier province, move into against India. All these movements, I mean, they cost quite a bit, which Pakistan can ill afford. And like their previous chief, General Bajwa himself said, we have got only FOL, that is a fuel, oil and lubricants, to fight a war for 2 days. And since he made that statement, I'm sure they haven't discovered any new oil wells. So the situation remains the same. And if out of that, they at least deplete half of it, only in that the ambiguity position we have put in them. I mean, we have told them, yes, we're going to hit you back. We're going to hit you back. But when, where, how is the question. So the ambiguity about this is keeping them totally on the interlock and is working on favor. And given the right time, we'll select the target. And I'm sure by now the targets would have been selected, whether they are military, whether they are terrorist launch pads, terrorist headquarters, quasi-military, that means some military, some this thing, or the airfields, or their nuclear warhead storage sites, or I mean, the list of targets is endless. They would have been prioritized, the weapon systems would have been assigned, and the time would wait.
Yes, and I wanted to talk about the international response now, particularly offers to mediate. We've had a Russian offer to mediate the tensions now. We've had Iran previously. What are your thoughts on these countries offering to neutralise these tensions and bring both parties of Pakistan and India to the table?
You see, I mean, we are beyond the stage of mediation or talks or any kind of this thing, because we have said very clear, the perpetrators of this, I mean, who did this 22nd of April, that include the people who have planned it, which means the ISI, which means the Pakistan army. They would be brought to justice. Now, there is no way, no mediator can force Pakistan to give up on that, because that Pakistan would be there signing like their own death warrant. And therefore, the talk of mediation all are useless. In any case, most of the countries offering, I mean, they cannot mediate, get mediation for their own affairs. So offering mediation to India, I mean, is something different. And end of the day, we have to be prepared to fight on our own might. The world always comes with the victor. The world always comes with the victor. In any case, I mean, the situation we are today, the world cannot afford to go against us. Even the Islamic bloc, I mean, is not actually supporting Pakistan. Even China is making only some noises left and right, but it is not holding Pakistan's hand very strongly. I mean, in terms of offering them some actual material help or bail them out of the situation, yes, or opening something. It is nobody is actually helping them. So they're all noises being made. But there is, I mean, nobody can offer anything substantial. I mean, through the talks which is deliverable and which will satisfy us. This is not the first time it has happened. It has happened a number of times, right from Mumbai, before that, so many times.
Yes.
Attack on our parliament. This is the time when enough is enough. The nation has decided enough is enough.
Brigadier, I just wanted to fit one last question in as we're running out of time. How ready is the Indian military, militarily, logistically and politically, for escalation if this conflict and tensions worsen?
You see, militarily, we are prepared. We have been preparing for the 2.5 fronts. In fact, for last 7 to 8 years, the military has been preparing for a 2.5 fronts. And if you see the acquisitions in last 5 years, we are not exactly at a stage where 2019, when we carried out the Balakot strikes, we are much above that. We are now gone much above that. The way we have inducted drones, new technology, new weapon platforms, the thing. And more importantly, we have the reserve. We have the reserve stocks. You see, when two countries go to war, it is not only ammunition. It is a lot of things. When you say logistics, it is your fuel. We have got our actually 60 days is right now the war storage stock held with Indian oil. They are keeping it separate. 60 days of war fighting. Similarly, Food Corporation of India is holding more than 60 days of Russian stock. People have to eat during war. You know, you can't be asking. Everything is catered for. So we are prepared for the long haul. We are prepared for the long haul. The Chinese learnt it the hard way. We are prepared for the long haul. It is the question of Pakistan is not prepared for the long haul. They are, in fact, not prepared for days, 3-4 days. That is about all the holding capacity we have.
Yes,
we have to do nothing.
Brigadier
Jamwal,
I do apologise, I have to interrupt. We have run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. We now move over to the Middle East, where tensions are surging.